Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Manx as the Hills podcast, where we talk about what expat living is really like. Today, we're joined by special guest Mr. Dan Quinlan as we take a deep dive into the life of a finger painter who has lived and travelled the globe. Remember, you can join in on the conversation through our social media channels at Manx Podcast. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Manx as the Hills podcast, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Dan Quinlan, the finger painter himself. Say hello, Dan.
Hello, Dan.
So,
how are you, Mr. Kriss?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for joining us.
It's good to be here.
I really appreciate you taking the time to coming down all the way down here to my home studio while we talk about some of the amazing work that you've been doing during your time traveling abroad.
Right.
So, Dan, introduce yourself. Where are you from? What do you do?
Okay, I'm Dan Quinlan from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. As you can see, I'm wearing my colors because of the Olympics that are here in Beijing right now. We're in Xi'an. I've been living in Xi'an here for 6 years now, doing a lot of painting and actually teaching English also at an international school here called XLIS in Xi'an. Beautiful city of Xi'an, which is the ancient city in China. It was the original capital city, I guess, of China. It's kind of a medium-sized city, they call it here in China, but it's actually 13 million people in the city. But I've been doing quite a bit of painting here too. I guess that's what we're going to be talking about. I worked at quite a few different countries, pretty well on every continent. And this was my first time coming to Asia, and I've been here now 6 years in Xi'an.
Wow, 6 years. So before you came to Xi'an, Dan, where were you based?
My wife and I have been teaching all over the place. We were in Tanzania. I was painting a lot in Tanzania. I did over 100 canvases, I guess, there. And then we were in Mauritius, where my wife is from, and I did quite a few paintings there also. I was in the Middle East. Also, we were in Abu Dhabi for quite a few years. So I've been all over the place and ended up here in Xi'an, and I'm glad I did. It's a great place.
Yeah, I agree. I think Xi'an is a very unique city in China. I've been to many, obviously I've traveled around China for a long time, but Xi'an is a very unique place. Within the first year, I started calling this, wow, I could really settle down here, could call this home for some time.
Oh, I agree. I was really surprised. I didn't know what to expect coming to China, but it's great. It's got everything that I need here. This is actually my last year. I'm going to be retiring teaching, so I'll probably be coming back here, and I'll be coming back to a lot of the cities that I lived in, hopefully during my retirement.
Or we can go and visit you.
Yeah, certainly. Certainly.
Yeah, that's where we don't get the address when you board that plane. So where's he gone?
Right.
So today we are going to be looking at some of Dan's work that he's been doing over the years and some of his iconic work that Dan has put together. Now, Dan is a finger painter, which is a very unique style and way of painting, and some of his work is incredible to be able to produce not only the style but also where the ideas come from, and taking the time to focus on some of these art pieces or masterpieces, I could easily call them. Today we're going to talk.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
No, you don't think so? I mean, when I'm
my masterpieces.
I'm not a painter, but I mean, when I look at some of these, I'm like, that is impressive. That is absolutely amazing to see. So today we're going to look at some of your artwork, and we're going to go through the process, where the ideas came from, how you kind of put paintings together. Obviously right now in China is a significant year, 2022, so we've also got the Olympics happening right now, and we're going to look at a piece that you painted for the Olympics about China and skiing. Dan, tell us, what is the name of the painting? Where did the idea come from, your inspiration? How did you work in putting it together?
Well, actually, being from Canada, it's a really winter sports country, and I knew the Olympics were coming here even before all this COVID stuff was happening. And I was really looking forward to being here, maybe going to Beijing, definitely going to Beijing to watch some hockey or whatever. And it just popped out of me one night. It's a very colorful piece, abstract, really colors, but I put in a few characters in it that, like the skier in the front of it. There's a snowboarder in it. It was just a piece about the Beijing Olympics that just came out of me. Really, there's not much thinking in my paintings. They just seem to come out of me somehow. Usually very abstract. In this painting, the mountains there's a pink mountain, there's a blue mountain, there's a yellow mountain. So, I like working with colors and textures. With my style, with no brushes, I seem to like the textures, and the colors is the main part of my paintings.
The Olympic painting that you've put together, obviously a lot of focus there on China, but you mentioned that also there's a big connection to back home as well with the winter sports. Is there any other piece that you've done in relation to this, or is this a unique piece that you did specifically just for the Olympics?
Just for the Olympics.
Just for the Olympics.
Yeah. I was definitely just thinking Olympics. The character in the front, the skier, has China written on the side of his or her pants. The person on the snowboard has China written down the side of their pants. So actually on the hat of the one character has 2022 written on it too. So I was definitely thinking Beijing Olympics making this, and it is an odd piece, but a lot of people seem to like it.
Obviously, we've got the snowboarding going on, but I do like the kind of Chinese feel of temple in the background as well. Okay, so another piece that you've done, which is really unique, a painting that you've named Black Lives Matter. Now, of course, that's a big topic in the world today, and a lot of focus towards Black Lives Matter. So what inspired you to create this piece? Where did it come from? Walk us through the process.
Okay, well, when all that was going on in the States, the Black Lives Matter thing, I had already lived in Africa, in Tanzania, for 4 or 5 years. When I was thinking Black Lives Matter, I was thinking about the African Black Lives Matter. So this painting is very African idea to it, colorful again, using the characters are very African. So to me, Black Lives Matter, of course, everywhere in the world, but to me, when the paint was coming out of my fingers, it was definitely thinking of Africa at the time. That painting has already been sold, and sold really quickly to somebody who loved that idea. The uniqueness of it, again, is the finger painting makes it unique a lot because there's no brush strokes or anything. And the main part of my paintings are that they are unique. None of my paintings look the same. Painting here in China, I see a lot of younger painters that want to, paint exactly the same as like a copy of the ancient Chinese paintings and everything, which is cool. I think that's cool. But to me, I could never do that. Mine all have to be original, and I think they are.
No, I definitely agree. Your work is very unique, and the style, even when I found out that you were only a finger painter, so no brushes, literally dive into the paint with your hands. From that, you have these amazing pieces of work on a canvas. It's quite incredible, really, just to be able to start off with a blank canvas and then just dive your hand into some paint and come up with the works of art that you've done. It's quite inspiring, really, because obviously we're all used to people, paint brushes, palettes, and so on. The style and the way that you do it. Quite recently, from viewing your works of art up close, you can definitely see the texture is a lot more prudent, I guess that's a good word to use, than when using brushes and so on. And you can kind of, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but you can kind of feel the painting. And especially in certain areas, like the Black Lives Matter one, is that there are certain parts of the painting where it kind of looks 3D, where the light hits it, because you've got different layers or different levels of paint because you've used more in certain areas, because you can do that with your fingers, I guess, much easily. I don't know, I'm not a painter.
Right. I really think that there's a lot of mine that you couldn't do that with a brush. I think a lot of the textures and stuff that come out just because I'm doing it with my fingers, I use my nails, I use everything on my hands, where, I don't think you can do that with a brush. I don't know, maybe you could, maybe some people could, but I've even had people that say to me, oh, I love your brush strokes, and even though there's no brush strokes on it. But I think the uniqueness of it is a lot of it has to do with because I'm using my fingers.
So the next picture that we're going to look at is one, actually it's very unique, really. The only thing I can make out of this is a panda and some masks. So what's going on in this painting here, Dan? Walk us through this one.
Well, I do paint a lot of the environment that I'm in. We recently went to a place called Foping, which is about 3 hours drive from our hometown here. It's where the pandas are roaming freely. And anyway, we've seen a few pandas and all that, not as much, but anyway, when I got home, I did about 2 or 3 paintings, and they had pandas, of course, in it. It just came out. Now, it's all happening at the same time, this pandemic thing's happening, so I've got a weird-looking character with a weird-looking mask on, and then the panda itself has a tuxedo on. Panda head could be just a mask, too. And the woman with the mask on also has a baby on her back. The baby has a mask on too. So again, I'm kind of mixing what's going on in my life, I guess, going and seeing the pandas for the first time, which was quite amazing, And then with all the masks, everybody wearing masks, I guess the panda head could be a mask itself too. I don't know. It all just came out of me like that. Again, very bright colors. I recently did a show, and that one sold very fast because it was so different. People, I think they really liked the idea of how different it is. Maybe how weird it was. But I think it turned out pretty well.
I think out of the paintings that we're looking at today, I think it's probably the most unique styled painting, I guess. The panda in the tuxedo, the woman. As you're walking us through it, I can definitely feel where your inspiration came from for your life with the masks. In Asia, masks have been around for a while. People go around the street with masks, but definitely within the last 2-3 years, you're forced to wear a mask. Can't go out without one.
Right. If we go back to the Beijing one, all of those characters that are skiing all have masks on also. Again, it's just the times. Everybody has masks on for this pandemic. They just seem to show up in the paintings also. Life inspiration straight onto canvas. Sure. It's pretty good. Most of it is what I do.
The next picture, and actually this is one of my favorites, is the yellow umbrella. And this is actually one of my favorites, and this was the main picture that you used to advertise quite recently one of your art shows that you held at the Ritz Hotel. And when you actually look at this in the flesh, not just on a piece of paper, it just looks great. This is one of my favorite paintings in the show. All incredible, really. But this one kind of just felt very Asian. Colors were great. Where's this come from, Dan?
Well, again, it's definitely from a Chinese-looking painting. Yes, that show, everybody was like that one, and that one was probably the first one that sold during that show also. Everybody seemed to want that one. But the colors, again, it's just a woman, simple picture of a woman with a big, odd-looking umbrella covered. Colors really bright, again, orange and golds I was using. Again, lots of texture. The background texture was the main part of it. A woman from behind with a ponytail, which is something I find in China, one of the main characters of the Chinese women is long ponytail. A lot of my paintings have the ponytails on it. Actually, that show was called Colors, Textures, and Ponytails, because I had quite a few paintings where the women had ponytails in it. Again, everybody loved that one, and it went very quick.
I can definitely see why this would go quickly. In China, obviously the painting we just looked at had the pandas, but a lot of these have very Asian style themes. And here, obviously, it being in China, you can kind of relate to where a lot of it is coming from. So not only when you're creating these, there's a lot of personality in these paintings. You've created them from life experiences, but I guess also people living here can also feel that attachment to it as well. They can connect something from their life to the painting as well. So I think it's great. So again, connecting China, we're now going to take a look at the panda painting. Where did this inspiration come from? Is it something similar when you went to go and visit the pandas, or is this a different time?
No, that was the same week I did that. I think there was 3 panda paintings during that time. This one was a couple of pandas with the backgrounds of my paintings are always interesting, I think, with a reflection into the water with 2 big pandas that, and I didn't try to make the pandas exactly like a perfect, I want to make a perfect panda. They just came out like that. They both have their red tongues hanging out, whether one's drinking some water, one's eating something. And if you look into the middle of the painting, there's actually a woman sitting in the middle of it too. A lot of people didn't notice that when I did my show until I had to point it out to them. The girl who bought that painting didn't see it. I said, do you see the woman in the painting? And she went, woman? No. And then when I showed her, it's so obvious, it's right in the middle, but it was a black and white. A lot of my paintings are very colorful, but this one, I wanted to keep it black and white, except for the tongue. And the black and white seemed to work pretty well, of course, with the panda being black and white. The background and the water reflection was very different type thing. It was very popular also.
I remember seeing this. I think what stood out to a lot of people is obviously the pandas are a big thing here in China. A lot of black and white, but just you got the right, even though it's tiny, little bit of red in there, right? And it really stood out when you saw the canvas. You actually saw like, wow, that's right. Pretty, obviously you must have worked around it. I don't know. I'm assuming you must have done the red part last, maybe. Added that in.
I think I did. I did. Yeah, I wanted it to stand out. There's actually one in the water also that you can't really see it, I don't think, in this picture of it. It was a pretty big canvas, actually. And there is another one in the water, and I put a red tongue on that also. The woman who bought it, I think it could have been anything. She was a panda lover, and she had to have it.
So the next piece we're going to look at is one that definitely a little bit of warmth in here, but it feels cold at the same time. And you've named this piece Sunrise. Where is this piece from, Dan?
It was here again, spring. There's blossoms on the trees. I had been living in the tropics or in the desert or wherever for about 10 years. And when we first got to China, the thing that blew me away was the blossoms in the trees. And it just happened to be, I was noticing the blossoms looking out the bus going to school one day. And I was noticing all these beautiful blossoms with the sun coming up, and the sun looked like the whole sky was orange to me. A very bright sunrise that looked unique to me. It was like the whole sky was orange. Anyway, but it was very cool out too, so I tried to make the front of it look like there was some frost or whatever on the ground, the blossoms with the orange background, and it just seemed to work. Very basic. There's a lot of traditional Chinese paintings that are just blossom paintings. I wanted to make mine different, of course, and a lot of people like the uniqueness of the background.
I think we've said this from the beginning, the style of your paintings, of course you can go to an art gallery and see a lot of unique paintings, but when you actually see them up close, you actually can see the canvas in the flesh, I guess is the best way to describe that. They are very, very unique, and it's very easy when you see a painting that's been used, paintbrush, they've just painted, and sure, it will look amazing. There's a lot of fantastic artists out there. When I saw your painting, and I'm not an artist, I don't go to art galleries, a lot, but when I saw yours and I just saw the collection together of how you've used your hands, the term unique is definitely key here, because you see a lot of paintings, even paintings that young artists or people that maybe of, they're a painter, right? When I saw your collection, I was like, wow. And you could, I'm not going to say I grabbed your collection, I rubbed my hand over it, because that's not what happened, but like when you just could touch it and you could just feel it, the bumps, even the hard ridges on some of the edges, even the last one we looked at, the sunrise painting, like the petals, some of the petals kind of like the edge of the petals was sharp because the paint came off the canvas.
It could have been my nails I was doing that with. The branches were definitely done with my nails. Yeah, you can see a lot of scratching in that painting, which makes it unique again. People use different instruments and stuff when they are painting to do scratching and that on canvas, but this is any of the scratching on mine is done with my nails, and it does make it unique. Again, we keep using that word unique. That's really the idea. I don't want mine to look like anybody else's. If it does, I actually did some paintings where it did look like somebody, not like somebody else's, but like what somebody else would do, and I would change it. I wanted to make it look as unique as I could. And for this one, a simple sunset really comes off the canvas, I think, with the blossoms that actually do come off the canvas, yeah.
I think so. I think it looks great. The final piece that we're going to look at today is, I'm going to say the word unique. You know?
That's okay.
But
There's nothing wrong with that.
It is very unique because there's some aspects of the painting that I recognize. We've definitely got the Chinese characters in there, but they're not your regular Chinese characters. So maybe you could just explain to us where did the idea of this painting came from, the name of the painting, and your idea of putting the original Chinese characters into this canvas.
Right. This is my favorite, I think, of all the paintings I've done in China. And I still have it in my living room. A lot of people really liked it and wanted it. I certainly didn't want to give this one away because I think it's very unique because, and it's called Killing Creativity, which I was doing when all this COVID started and everything. And I thought, wow, people aren't out there. There's no music being played anywhere. The artists, you're not seeing anything. I think that the COVID thing was really killing the creativity in the world. So that was the idea. And so what I have is kind of like a dancer character throwing like pink petals up in the air or whatever. And then out of the side of his arm, I put a hand with a gun. So there was a gun killing this creative person. That was the idea of it. Now this was some of my paintings I'm doing now, I'm using a lot of Chinese characters. These Chinese characters across the top say killing creativity in a very ancient Chinese font, I guess you would call it. Nowadays they call it a font. But the characters are actually very ancient. Which one of my colleagues, the way I do it is the colleague would write it down for me, and then I would just copy it onto the painting. And it turned out really well, I think. A lot of people at this last show that I did were looking, and they knew what it said, and they hadn't seen that kind of, a lot of them hadn't seen that kind of style of characters before, or that, but the ones who did know what it said really were blown away by the ancient idea of the characters. Again, the colors, the face, bright white face with really colorful clothing, and the blue background, which is, I tried to make it as bright as I could. But the whole idea was that this COVID thing was trying to kill our creativity, but I don't think it will in the end. It shouldn't anyway. I think any artist should be able to be inspired by what's going on in the world. And, this is probably the biggest thing that's gone on in the world even since I've been alive, which is like 100 years. And, and so to me, it should inspire you. It shouldn't... it shouldn't kill creativity, but the idea of the painting was the gun shooting the creative person.
So having looked at these 7 pieces now, of course, throughout your time traveling, you've created hundreds of pieces of art, but it's a very unique hobby, very unique style of painting. It's the word of the day, people. It's the word of the day, unique. But it is, and obviously traveling, you tend to meet people who are into sports or something to do with technology. Sure, you might meet a few artists, but you actually, wherever you move to, you continue what you're doing as a finger painter. How easy is that to do? When you move around, obviously, are you carrying all these pieces of work with you? How easy to start? Obviously, you're moving from countries to countries.
Right. Well, in Tanzania, where I really got started, I guess I should bring up the little part about when I got started. Most of my paintings were about pain. Okay, I was in a lot of pain. I had back problems. I had sciatic nerve problems for many years before I left Canada. And I really believe that a lot of it came out of my pain. I would be in pain, couldn't sleep. I would be painting all night, and it would take my mind off of the pain. I think like a lot of artists, they're driven by stuff like that, pain or love or whatever it is. But I mean, me, it was pain. And I ended up in Tanzania doing over 100 canvases. I sold a few of them, quite a few of them. But I also gave a lot to charity in Tanzania. In Kilimanjaro, hospital there is called KCMC, I believe it is, hospital. I gave them, they got 20 or more of my paintings, and they put them up in the children's ward and all that in the hospital. And I've got pictures of that. The lady, the doctor who took them, she was a Dutch lady, a big art fan and a fan of my work. She loved it, and she said, this will bring a smile to the kids' faces. So I said, take as many as you want. I wanted it. And she got a car full of paintings one day and took them, and she's shown me pictures of how they're up on the walls and all that in the hospital. Yeah, so to me, that's great. Also, I like the idea. I've been doing these all over the world, so when people buy them, I know now that my paintings are all over the world. I know somebody from Germany that bought it, somebody from Norway that bought it, somebody all over the world, all over the U.S., all over, there's quite a few in Canada now. I know my family has quite a few of them. My daughters have a lot of mine. And, when I'm dead and gone, at least now, my paintings will be all over the world, which, I don't know what that means, but it kind of... it's something to, at least I did something while I was here, I'm not leaving nothing behind. Other than that, we have a house in Mauritius where, I have a lot of my paintings are there. Here in China, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got about 50 there right now that I have.
Wow.
And I will be giving away a lot of them. I might try to do one more show or something before I leave, and maybe for a charity or something like that. But I'm, to me, I love the idea that they're all over the place. And a lot of the people who bought them have taken pictures of them on their walls. Like a good friend of mine in Detroit, Michigan, just sent me one the other day of one of my paintings that he bought off me that looks great on his wall. Another one was here, and he went to work in Beijing. Now he showed me a picture of it on his wall in Beijing. These things look great on the walls. Just colors, and a lot of them aren't, might not want that in your living room or something, but in certain spots in a house, I think they look great just because of the color, and it adds color to the place. I like to keep quite a few of my own. I have one now on my wall that somebody wanted to buy at the last show that I did, but I didn't want to really give it away because somebody said to me once, boy, that's $1 million background. And that kind of stuck in my head, and I thought, well, I'm not going to let that go for $1,000 or anything. If somebody, so I'll have a lot of them, but I say 40 or 50 in this in my studio, and that in Xi'an here, that I'll have to think of some way of getting rid of them or pack them in a box. A quick story: when I came to China from Mauritius, I had a box with about 5 or 6 paintings in, and it got lost at the airport, lost forever.
Wow.
So I've never been able to recover them. So maybe they're still sitting on somebody's wall I was in Hong Kong or something. I was landing in Hong Kong, I think. And I always say the one that was really popular that a lot of people wanted that I never sold, it's gone. I always say, it's in a gallery in the airport in Hong Kong. Because it's lost somewhere. I don't know where they are. But
someone's enjoying that right now.
Maybe it's on somebody's wall.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. But that's okay. I can keep doing them. They seem to be flowing out of me constantly now. So I have one more. I'm finishing in another, I think, in 4 or 5 months now. I'll be retiring, and then I can really get into this. All these paintings that I do is part-time thing. It's just my hobby, really. But I think once I do retire, I'll probably get into doing a lot more of them, and they'll probably be better than they are now. I think I'm working 8 hours a day every day. I don't think your creativity can be great when I have to go to work every day. I think when I'm home and not working, I think more will come out of me, and maybe a lot better quality. I don't know yet. But anyway, or maybe I'll just stop altogether. I'll never paint again.
Oh, I hope not.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know, though. So the big thing is, I think it's kind of like a legacy, which I didn't really have. I produced some music in some places, but also, but I think these paintings that are all over the place, they could be there forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully my grandchildren will have some of them.
And
You hear that, girls? I haven't got any grandchildren yet.
Well, who knows? They'll have an original Quinlan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
We'll all be looking for them.
Right.
You know, you'll see them online. $1 million.
Yeah, probably after I'm dead.
Yeah.
So I'm broke now, but you know, maybe it'll be one of those ones where they'll sell for all kinds of money. I hope so. I don't know. It's not something when I'm painting, I don't even think of that. I'm not thinking of anything money or anything like that. I'm just thinking of whatever's coming out of my fingers.
Dan, I really, really appreciate you taking the time coming down here, discussing some of your work. It was a privilege to go and see your art show that you held recently here in Xi'an, and some of the work that you had done within China, but also some of the work that you'd done before China as well. It's just amazing to see a fellow expat, somebody who's traveled the world, to use that inspiration and put it onto paper, and in such a unique style as well.
Is that unique again?
There is. That is the word. I'm going to make a word calendar.
Maybe that'll be the title of the show.
Yeah, could be. I'll put it in there. I'll try and get it in there. But thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Mr.
I really
Kriss.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And guys, if you want to learn more about Mr. Quinlan, the finger painter, all his details will be at the end of the podcast, and you can go and see all his work online. Hopefully, if you're interested to learn more, you can reach out to Dan directly.
All right, I just got to get somebody to teach me how to update my website. I'm not very good.
Don't be saying that now.
I'm not very good on computers or anything, and I've got 50 more paintings that should go on that website that maybe I will, maybe they'll get on there. Hopefully they'll get on there.
Yeah. Who knows, there's $1 million painting somewhere in that pile.
Probably.
Yeah, could
Probably
be.
not.
Well, there we go. Probably not. Listen, gotta have hope.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Kriss.
We are done. Hey, thanks for listening. And remember to get the latest updates on our podcast episodes, join our social media channels at Manx Podcast. And if you enjoyed this podcast episode, then please leave a like, comment, and feel free to share. Until next time, this is your host, Kriss Parker.